Hey there, and welcome back to Scrap with Penny, where paper meets story. And today I have a little seasonal topic for you. You know, I'm filming this on November the 8th, and Christmas lights were hung on our house on Wednesday. I mean, we get a little discount if we do it early, so yeah. And we're really in the mix of the holidays. In our family chat, we've started talking about Thanksgiving menu and who's going to be here, and Christmas lists are getting prepped, and Black Friday previews are dropping, and so I'm here for it. The Hallmark Mystery Channel is running Christmas nonstop, and I mean, I'm just a sucker for all of it. I'm not going to lie. When we were in Austria, in Salzburg and Vienna, they were getting ready for all the Christmas markets, and my husband is in retail, and we can't travel much past when we did, and so we have decided we're going to have to go back someday. I had a subscriber, Jess, suggest that I document a favorite family recipe, and it was kind of hard to decide which one to work on, but at the end of the day, I decided to document me and my making of the chocolate cream pie. It's a family recipe. I'm the fourth generation, I think, to make it, and I have started teaching one of my daughters-in-law how to make it. She watched me 2 Thanksgivings ago, or I guess it was 24. Yeah, so this year we've got them for Christmas and not for Thanksgiving. Now, I'll tell you, my other daughter-in-law, Jen, she's a pastry chef, and she could probably make mincemeat out of this recipe real quick. So I found these 6 photos over the span of time. These photos were taken, well, I don't know about this one. These photos were taken at the house we're living in now, and these photos were taken at the house we raised the boys in. And so I've got them printed at 3 1/4 squared, and I'm going to use this What's Cooking from Simple Stories. And I just think this sticker sheet is so fun. That's what I wanted to start with. I got this as a Black Friday bundle last year, and so I don't have the pretty collection cover sheet, which, you know, is always my lament when I drop on a collection bandwagon late. So I've pulled some papers that I think will work, and I also have a PageMaps sketch lined up. And, you know, y'all, this is kind of an odd or different color palette for a cooking line for the holidays. And you can see it's very clearly fall, and there's something together, and there's some other elements in the collection. So this was a fall release, but it's very different, and it's kind of like the Paige Evans Halloween line I worked with recently with the pink in it. Okay, so here's the papers I've got, and I do have a fair amount of all of the embellishments, because when Simple Stories does those bundle sales, they're really good with what they put in there. I'm not going to drag all the embellishments out, but I'm wondering, did you grab this collection? And if you did, have you used it? So I'm going to drop the sketch in right here and kind of talk you through it. I am going to, first of all, rearrange my photos. Instead of 3 4x6, I'm going to do 6 3 1/4 squared. And so my photos will just go a little bit taller than shown. I'll mat them, and they'll be a little bit, they won't go quite as far on the sides, because I'm less than 4 inches each. So anyway, I've got a large block of paper on the left, and then a complementary horizontal band that spans a little bit of the left page and all of the right. And I think on the horizontal band, I think I'm going to break that into 2 patterns, because I need to make sense of these patterns I have, and I think the only way to do that is to use a little bit more of them than less. I do have the 6x8 pad, so I'm not sure on that title block area if I will use a 6x8 sheet there or not. And another candidate is on the far right on this little leaf pattern. And the other thought I had was I could go crazy and do a horizontal band under all the photos across, and that would be me channeling, you know, Jana Eubanks, how she just loves to use the paper. But I thought, you know, I pulled enough paper I could do that, and I think I have enough paper I could do that. Whenever, you know, you're spanning 2 pages, you have to make sure you've got enough. So okay, so that's kind of where we're going to start, and let me hop back. I will say, now that we're looking at the paper, I don't know which paper will go where. So it may be that this one here would be the vertical band, and this one here would be the horizontal, and then maybe this would be the one I would run behind the pictures. But I've only got one sheet of this, so I may not be able to do that unless I did a solid block of cardstock mat, and then I could just do a strip at the top and bottom. Something to think about. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and trim my pictures up, and I think, you know, this stripe will be used on the left side of the sketch where that little scallop is. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to get going on trimming my pictures. While I was trimming up these pictures, I thought that I should tell you, if you need something for your Christmas wish list, you should put this little trimmer on it. It's such a good trimmer. And I like to talk every once in a while about how I make sure I get consistent cuts. And it's a Dorothy Guinan Scrapbooking Quebec hack. So I cut 2 sides freely, and then I've got this piece of mint tape, and I bump up against it. I want to change the crop on this. I want to take the excess off of this side. And there you go. Easy peasy lemon breezy. You get photos that are trimmed consistently. You know, I know not everyone is into the precision like I am, but you know, I do like it. I do like precision. So when you're working on a grid and you want your pictures to line up, it it helps if they're all the same size. Okay, so these are trimmed, and I need to get out some cardstock, and I need to ponder on which paper is going to be what. And so I'm leaning toward, I'll cut this one first and this one second. So I'm going to pause the video again. Okay, so I've got my cardstock, and I'm thinking, see, I've only got one sheet of this, but I've got 2 sheets of this. So if I want a piece of paper to span across both pages that also allows for a mat, see, this will take more than half a sheet of paper. But I think I'm okay with this. And you know what I could do to tie it in is I could run my stripe like that. I don't know. Oh, the other thing is I have these washies, but they're not really multicolored. And so here's the thing that I discovered with this collection is there's not really a multicolored sheet. This is kind of the closest that comes to it, which is why I pulled it. You know, sometimes there'll be a pattern that has all the colors in it, and you can kind of use it to marry your papers together, but this one didn't have that. So yeah, okay. And so I've got my mats cut. Back to the trimmer. The reason I like the trimmer is that it's marked in 1/16, and so a real nice margin for a mat, in my opinion, is just a 1/8. So I just came over 1/8 of an inch on this, and I was able to get my mats cut, just, you know, moving my tape over. So anyway, good little trimmer, and in case you didn't know, it extends. So I have my Big Misty out, and I've got my little photo mats. I'm opting for a 1/4 inch edge around the photo mats, the pictures. So I'm just going to go like this. Then I'm going to move it up. And I put my adhesive on during the break. I had some girlfriends that gave me some tips on how to get my ATG to stop squeaking, but I need to wait for a refill. So I'm just kind of being mindful of that. And I've shared before, I bought the Big Misty when Nicole McGork was touting stamping on scrapbook pages on 2Ps, and it just kind of sat in the cupboard for a long time. And I got these acrylic corners off Etsy. There's always a link in the video description to a shop that sells these. And I decided earlier this year to marry the two so that I could easily mat things on my scrapbook pages. And so to get my fingernails get in the way here sometimes. So to get my last measurement, I just do a pencil line. Okay, let me do one down here. And you can see why I said I would need 2 sheets of paper, because there's not, well, hold on. There would be, because I'm not doing, oh, that's good news. I'm not doing, I'm not doing 8 photos, I'm doing 6. Okay. Okay, well, let me trim this, and then I can come right up, and then my pattern will match. So here it is trimmed up. You can see where my pattern is going to match. So I'm going to drop this here. I like it when I'm wrong in my favor. That's so good to know. Now, this does mean I could have used the other piece of paper, the pink floral, but we're not gonna go there. This is the week all across America where the dogs are starving. They're wanting their dinner early. Sophie is ringing the bell to go out on the patio to tell me she wants dinner. And the reason why I know she's telling me she wants dinner is because when I open the patio door, she goes, "Oh no, Mom, I don't want to go out. I just want something." Okay, so let me trim this up and then we'll be ready. I thought real quick I would share me putting this together. When I'm doing a double page and I need my papers on the left and right to line up, I use a Jana Eubank hack where I use this low tack mint tape on the back to hold my paper together, and then I've just got this one big canvas. So it won't bother me. Things won't move or shift, because even with my magnets, they shift. And I want to talk a little bit about why I'm doing a double page spread. So this is 6 photos. It's 6 photos because I kind of wanted to show every phase of this pie. This is it's not a hard pie to make. It's time consuming to make. And I mean, I could eat the whole thing, so I don't make it that often for those 2 reasons. Oh, let me get this straight on the glass. But, you know, you've got to get your crust prepared and pre-baked, and then you cook the custard on the cooktop, and then you beat your egg whites, and then you pour the custard into the crust, put your egg whites on the custard, and then you cook the meringue. So that's what all the pictures represent. And I could have squished it down to 1 page, but I honestly thought it would kind of be fun to do a double. Okay, so now I need to trim this up, and then this is what we're going to have. I think it's going to be cute. Oh, where is it? I started out with a 12 by 12 pattern, but I ended up pulling the 6 by 8, and so this will go right there. Okay, let me do the math on this and trim this down. This is 8.5 by 12, and these are, oh gosh, I mean, I could just measure it for you. So Sophie's going to make a run at the bell again. It's 4:56 p.m. here, and it is not her dinner time. She's getting frustrated. It's so funny. Oh, the reason why I said that dogs all across America are hungry, it's because it's daylight savings time. So like their little body clocks, they don't understand. And frankly, I'm struggling too. So this is 11 inches tall. And I was supposed to have 1.5 inches over here, but this is the paper that I've only got one of, and I mean my graph isn't going to line up, but this is going to be where we just let the gutter hide the problem. So I'll just bump this over, and then to get more width over here I can broaden my stripe, or I can add a second piece of paper. So this is what we're looking at. And I need to trim this. So here's what we have, and the sketch calls for this pattern to repeat this pattern, but I just didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. And let's see how it's going to look with our pictures on here. This cookbook took a beating before we retired it. A couple of years ago, my friend Lynette, who has since passed, recommended the Paprika app, and so I digitized all of my recipes. And just today, my son was asking me for taco soup, and I told him, I said, well, if you get that app, then you can log in as me, and you've got all of our recipes. I think that's cute. So anyway, I wanted to document this, and here's when I'm using the cookbook. I didn't want to put the actual recipe on here because my family will have that. I just wanted to put a nod to the recipe by way of a picture of it, which I had taken at some point. Oh, and so here's my secret. I make these pies better than anyone in my family, but it's because when I make 2 pies, I make a recipe and a half. And so my custard is thicker, you know, not as in coagulated, but as in taller, a higher stack on the pie. And then I also took this and divided it. For one large pie, I took 2/3 of the recipe here. So I can just make one. I had to stop and think about what all this means. I can make 1 thick one or 2 really thick ones. But don't tell my sisters my secret. Okay. I have been making this pie for over 30 years. We had a Thanksgiving where we weren't with my family, and we had been married just a few years, maybe like 3 or 4 years. And I made the pies for that Thanksgiving, and that was the first time I started making them. And so because it's a cooktop, you do kind of have to perfect it. And the other thing I do is I round up the flour and the cocoa so that you get more of a thickening agent in it. Okay, so now it's time to kind of think about my title. I need to decide on my stripe. I am going to go with this stripe, but I don't know how thick I want it. And I'm also thinking about tearing it because I've just been crushing on that little pear tree cut file tearing ruler. And I thought that might look kind of fun to have a little jagged edge. I don't know. So let me stop rambling and do a few things off camera, and I'll be back. I meant to say when I showed y'all the sketch that the reason I had selected that sketch was that I thought it lent itself to a little spot for scene building. So I just started pulling things out, and I think that all works. And I've got my journaling printed, and I'm going to cut it with the Hero Art Sentiment Strip die. This is a hack from Nicole at Coley Bean, And I always have in the video description a link to her tutorial. She has a free Google sheet that you can make a copy of, and then you can print out your journaling and you get these beautiful uniform strips. So I did get my pear tree tearing ruler number 2 out, and I did a little tear here. It's very subtle. I like it. I trimmed this down. I pulled this off the foam sticker pack. I think I've got adhesive on my nail. I'm not going to say recipes. I'm going to say recipe. So I'll have to center that up. But that'll be my title. And I don't know, maybe I'll move it up a little bit. That's kind of cute. What else? I may pull some brads out once I get everything taped down, but I think what I need to do is definitely start taping stuff down because everything is loose. And I think if I can get it taped down, it should come together pretty quickly. Of course, I'm thinking about stitching. 2 thoughts on that. One would be to stitch the blocks here, and then another one would be to stitch here and here and here and here and here. I'm not sure which direction I'll head on that, but I do always love the texture that it provides. And the other thing I'll say is when I get ready to tape this down, I'm probably going to pull in some of the stickers so that I have an assortment of die cuts and stickers. I learned that from Jana Eubanks' classes in 2024. It just gives a little more interest when you've got the different textures. You know, like these are flat and these are shiny. So I'll do an assortment of those, and I might pull this little mitt down here. I'm not sure, but you know, you can't ever get these out until you're ready to put them down, because then you just got to move them around. Okay, so enough rambling. I'll start taping down my paper and I'll be back. One thing I wanted to add real quick is that the sticker book has a lot of little mitts in it that I can pull and use. I've got this here kind of as a placeholder, but I'm not super fond of the brown, not really crushing on it. So anyway, okay, I better get busy. So I did go ahead and run this journaling through my impress and cut it with the die, and you can see what I'm talking about, that it's uniform and pristine and sharp. And so I'll trim up the edges and pop it up on foam, and I'm thinking that I'll put it down here. Hey, so just a little update. I decided I did want to stitch inside these 3, I guess they're all rectangles. And I wanted to build my shelf because I had all of these loose parts. So I stitched up here so I could build the shelf, and on these pieces here I swapped out the die cuts for stickers. And right here, this little mitt is much smaller, the scale is better, and so then I grabbed this little pot off of the sticker sheet also. I think it all looks really cute. I've got a spatula and some measuring spoons left, and after I get this pink stitched, I may try and work those in somewhere. The stitching is going to take a little bit and I didn't want to have this done and then all the stitching done and then just come back. So I thought I would just do one quick update. And let's see, I added a little heart here, and I changed out the flower. So this and this are stickers, so I've got a little bit of a sticker sheen going on down here, and I'll add that element down here after I get the stitching done. Where are those? I don't know. So that's kind of the status. I like the journaling popped up on the foam, and I think that the title turned out really cute. I left the flower in there. I liked how it kind of filled the space. So it's a really cute collection, and I wonder, have you played with this collection? And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm giving you a challenge to document a family recipe. I'll be back. Hey, so I'm back and it's all finished, and I really like how it turned out. So again, I was thinking about, it's a little extravagant for me to do a double page layout with only 6 photos, but honestly, I think the story is good and it warrants it, and I'm fine with it. You know, you got to kind of go with your gut when you're doing this stuff. I got my stitching done, and I like the texture that adds to it, and I added a little brad here, and I kind of made a little cluster down here. I pulled this house out because it says family home kitchen food, and I thought the little house would work. And then I grabbed this little ticket out of the sticker book, and it says yummy on it, and I think it's just too cute. And then these are the little measuring spoons that are part of the bits and pieces, and I popped them up on foam. This is all up on 1 layer of foam, so this is on 2. And then I put a little red enamel brad here to get some red down in this corner. And I think down here I've got all of my colors represented. My journal strips are down. It says, I've been making this family recipe for years, since 1990. I remember my granny and my mom making this pie all my life. I believe I've perfected it, as I have tweaked the recipe slightly. It's a fave of my family, and certainly my fave. It's a must-have for every holiday. And this picture of me stirring it on the cooktop here is the first Thanksgiving. We moved into this house November 10th, 2016, which tomorrow, the day after I'm finishing this, will be 9 years in this house. And that's kind of hard to believe. And this was the first Thanksgiving. We had just been in the house 2 weeks, and you know how, like, new kitchen, I want to make all the things. But I did want to say, you know, I gave you the challenge to get a story told about a favorite family recipe on your end. And the other thing I wanted to say is that I'm starting, November's completely planned out for content. December will be here. It'll be quick. I'm probably going to start planning out December next. And so if you have some ideas for what you'd like to see in December, drop a note in the comment. But more importantly, I want to talk about 2026. So it'll be the first time with my channel that I'd be starting a new year. And what do you want to see in the new year? Do you have any idea for a series that would span the year? And I do the stash busting Saturdays, and I love that. And then, of course, I'll have my design team work that will be a constant each month. But beyond that, I'm always open to ideas, and I would like, you know, there's just that flurry of activity after the holidays, and as you head into the new year of goals and resolutions and all that. So I'd like to support you with your goals, and feel free to drop a note in the comments if you've got any ideas for a project for next year. And of course, I've got vacations I still need to be working on. I will say that I had wanted to put this little spatula up here, but the scale of it just didn't really seem to work. It seemed too large, and so ultimately I decided not to put it. And I looked at the other stickers in the sticker book and on the sticker sheet, and there's not a repeat of anything that's smaller. There's a whisk that's on the foam sticker sheet, but it also seemed kind of big, and it would be super puffy because it would be foam on top of the chipboard. So anyway, drop a note in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. If you're one of my subscribers, heartfelt thanks for that. And if you haven't joined the community yet, hit that subscribe button and hop on in. The water's fine. I hope that you've had some fun playing with paper while I had fun documenting this. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.